Hey there guys, so considering my last video was pretty negative and was just me shitting on Berserk 2016 for 10 minutes, I decided to actually be positive for a change. Let's talk about the first Berserk game. Out of, like what, 3? This video will be pretty much me reviewing and actually defending this game since a lot of people have pretty mixed opinions on it. Just to clarify, it's not like this is the best video game ever or something, and hell, it's not even the best Berserk game. But it's definitely better than that other Berserk game. However, I actually think that Sword of the Berserk God's Rage is a pretty good game, and the story that was written by Miura, by the way, is really good and underrated. So, without further ado, let's get into it, guys. Sword of the Berserk God's Rage was released in December of 1999 in Japan and in early 2000 in Europe and the States for the Sega Dreamcast, aka the most underrated console of all time. It was developed by Yuke's and published by Eidos Interactive. The game was moderately received, with most critics giving it a 7 out of 10 score. Except that Edge dude. Like, come on Edge, really? A 3 out of 10? Come on now, it ain't that bad. As I mentioned, the story is written by Miura, creator of Duranki, but on Wikipedia it also states that Tsuyoshi Tamai wrote it? Tamai, of course, popular for his brilliant work on... Oh no. Not to mention the original characters for this game were all designed and drawn by Miura, which is just so cool. Shows that the people who made this game actually really cared about it. A big problem I have with this game is the title, like Sword of the Berserk? What? I know this sounds like a really stupid criticism, but just look at it. I understand that the Japanese title for this game is really long, but why give it that weird title? My theory is that the English translation team had no idea what Berserk even was and just changed the title randomly to something that sounds cool and edgy. And to be fair, no one really outside Japan knew what Berserk was back in like what, 99? Even after the 97 show, it was still pretty niche. Most of the voice actors are the same guys who voiced the characters in the Legacy of Kain franchise, aka one of the best video game series of all time, with some of the most beautiful voice acting and dialogue I have ever seen in a video game. And man, that is seriously not the voice I was expecting Puck to have.
Gatsu! Terrible news!
But well, let's get on to the story, which is actually really cool and I like it. The story of this game takes place between volumes 22 and 23 of the manga, and it's still heavily debated upon whether it's canon or not. Personally, I think it is canon. I mean, it doesn't really matter in the first place, and it's just a fun side story. Also, you can see a Mandragora, the game's main enemies, in volume 24 of the manga, so I guess it's canon or just a fun Easter egg. On the surface, the main plot is pretty simple. Trio walk into a village which is ruled by an evil emperor named Haha Funny Ballsack, but no, seriously, he's named after a French author, who is, by the way, voiced by Earl Bone, and I could swear he was voiced by Tony J. I mean, they sound pretty much the same.
Balzac, ruler of this town. Sir, I must thank you. Unfortunately, once people with this disease run amok, they rampage until they die.
I know you, Raziel. You are worthy. You did not survive the abyss, Raziel. I have only spared you from total dissolution.
But IMDb says it's Earl Bone, so sorry, Mr. Bone. I thought you were Tony J for a second. So anyway, there are these things named Mandragora, which are these evil plants who originated from an apostle, and Guts has to kill these monsters to get a cure for Casca's potatoness. I don't want to spoil too much for you, and there is way more tragedy to the story than meets the eye, especially with the true main antagonist of the story. Overall, the story isn't that amazing, and I don't think it really needs to be. It's just a fun side story in the world of Berserk, and I don't understand why so many people hate on it. I think the only kind of bad thing about this game is the gameplay, which in some cases is... so let's get on with it. Alright, so this game is pretty much just a standard hack and slash. You can't really do any combos, which means you can complete this game with just pressing a single button. You can also put down the Dragon Slayer and use your fists in combat, which I don't know why you would ever do that. Your fists do almost no damage. I mean, I guess it's useful when you're in a small corridor and the sword keeps constantly bouncing off the fucking walls. It's really annoying and it's the main problem I have with this game. There's also Berserk mode, which you can activate after you receive a certain amount of damage. Berserk mode makes you invincible for a few seconds. Berserk mode is cool, not because you can't die or anything, but because the Dragon Slayer doesn't bounce off the fucking walls. I think this game would have been way better received if the sword doesn't constantly bounce off the fucking walls all the time. Seriously, am I the only one who has a problem with this? It seriously makes the game 100 times more frustrating than it needs to be. Wait a second, I wanted this video to be positive, right? Ah, fuck. There are a total of 4 items you can use, which are Puck's Fairy Dust, the most useful since it heals you, and trust me, you're gonna need healing. Because for me, dodging was really difficult sometimes. In the worst case scenario, the enemies will just rush you and then dodging is pretty much impossible. You can also use your arm cannon, which is really cool. You have the little bombs that Guts uses and the little knives that Guts throws. This is pretty cool, actually. You have a limit of items you can use, except the knives, since they don't really do much damage and are mostly used for distracting your enemies. Hey there guys, Chris here. Apparently I'm a big idiot. I'm a big dum-dum because I forgot to mention the crossbow. I seriously forgot about it because I like used it 2 times while replaying this game. It's nice, it's similar to the knives where you can pretty much just distract your enemies, but kinda useless in the great scheme of things. Now back to the video. However, after you used all your items, you can look around the level to find some hidden in crates, which is a cool game mechanic, but I think the PS2 game did this way better with the items just having a cooldown. Hey, guess what? Bosses are in this game, and they're okay. There isn't really a lot to them. They look cool, but it's pretty much just dodge around them, and once you have an opportunity, you slash them with your sword. They're not bad by any means, and the Zod fight was the most fun and challenging fight of the game. They're just kinda there, I guess. The level design is okay. Some levels are a pretty basic path you have to follow, but I really dig the scenery and atmosphere of each level. It's one of my favorite things about this game. Also, this is one of the first video games to actually use QuickTime events. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I'll let you decide. I know, this entire review sounds really negative, but I still really like this game. In terms of gameplay, I would give it a 7 out of 10, the story gets an 8 out of 10, and the soundtrack, woo, that gets a full 10 out of 10 by me. The soundtrack is done by Susumu Hirasawa, I hope I pronounced that right. He is the guy who also made the soundtrack for the 97 Berserk series, and it's just amazing, as always. Overall, Sword of the Berserk is a pretty good game with tons of flaws. If you're a Berserk fan, I think you should definitely check it out. If you don't have any idea what Berk even is, then not so much.
This place is a Mandragoran holding cell. There's always the danger that they may go berserk.
Hey, my name's Chris. Remember me? I'm the YouTuber you just listened to. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This was the first time I ever actually reviewed something. I like Berserk. I like making Berserk content sometimes. Sorry, this took a little while, like what, 12 days or something? A lot of it was editing. Editing is still pretty hard for me, I guess. But most of it was pure laziness. You know, I'll just say it was laziness. So, what am I supposed to say now? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoy making these videos. It's a lot of fun for me. It's, you know, it drains my energy a lot, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun. And I hope you guys have fun watching. So, peace out, everybody.